Hi, good afternoon everyone. I am Jennica Rose Rey Montiel, your presenter for today. As we unfold today's lesson, let's have a recap of what we have discussed last meeting because those are all connected to what we are discussing today. We had been introduced to the multifaceted role of the teacher from curriculum planning, implementing, and evaluating. In curriculum planning, we have learned about the teacher as a curriculum designer, in where we have discussed about the fundamentals and approaches in curriculum designing, curriculum mapping, and curriculum quality audit. As we proceed, we have been introduced to a new role of the teacher, and that is the teacher as a curriculum implementer and a manager. This covered the topics implementing the design curriculum as a change process, implementing a curriculum daily in the classroom, the role of technology in delivering the curriculum, and the stakeholders in curriculum implementation. Last week, we have talked about the teacher and the curriculum evaluation, in where we have learned about what, why, and how to evaluate a curriculum and curriculum evaluation through learning assessment. And today, we are gonna discuss planning, implementing, and evaluating, understanding the connections as the last topic for Chapter 4, Evaluating the Curriculum. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to analyze the relationship between planning and implementing in curriculum development, explain the connection of curriculum implementation and curriculum evaluation. Third, discuss the interrelatedness of curriculum evaluation and curriculum planning. And lastly, interpret the overall relationship of planning, implementing, and evaluating in curriculum development. Do you believe that curriculum development ends with evaluation? According to the models presented by Hilda Taba and Ralph Tyler, curriculum ends with evaluation. However, since curriculum development is a continuous process, it can be viewed like a pie. Planning, implementing, and evaluating. Since curriculum development is a continuous process, this means that after assessment, planning starts again. The processes planning, implementing, and evaluating can be taken separately in curriculum development, but these are connected to each other. And as we go on with this discussion, we can get a grasp of understanding of their connection. The cycle continues because each is embedded to the dynamic change that happens in curriculum development, which means that each process is vital for the success of the whole curriculum. Let us first talk about planning, the initial step in curriculum development. In planning, the needs of the learners are determined through an assessment. Also, the needs of the teachers and the community are taken into consideration as these are all related to the curriculum. Halimbawa, ano ang pangangailangan ng mga learners na nakita natin sa nakaraang evaluation na ginawa natin sa ating naunang curriculum? Anong mga modifications ang kailangan natin gawin? Kailangan ba natin gumamit ng learner-centered approach na kailangan ng constructivist or Socratic method? O kailangan ba nating mag-incorporate ng seminars para ma-improve pa ng teacher ang kanilang delivery of content and pedagogy and community? Ano ang kulang sa community na pwedeng i-provide ng school o ano ang kulang sa school na pwedeng i-provide ng community? After the needs have been identified, we set the intended outcomes. The intended outcomes follow the rule or the acronym SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Specifics. Being specific helps you want to achieve your goal. It should be narrow and definite. Ano ba talaga ang gusto kong i-accomplish? Second, measurable. This answer, how will I know when my goal is accomplished? Third, attainable, meaning the outcomes should be doable, nagagawa, achieved, and desired. Relevant, your intended outcomes should align with the objectives. Kasi ano pa ang purpose ng outcomes mo kung hindi naman relevant sa objectives mo? Then, lastly, it should be time-bound. We should set a realistic time frame. It answers the question when. Take for example, sa daily lesson plan natin, mayroon tayong specific topic na ina-assign na matapos kada isang meeting. The topic is allocated for 3 hours, 1.5, and that is time-bound. Now that we have set our intended outcomes, ano na ang susunod nating gagawin sa planning? Sa planning, we find out ways on how to achieve our desired outcomes. This involves the ways, method, means, and strategies. Take for example, sa isang specific lesson, we incorporate a role play, a poster making, and all the activities included in the activity of the teacher included in the lesson plan. Yon ang tinatawag nating mga techniques or strategies na ginagamit ng teacher. We can only achieve the intended outcomes or the strategies and methods na ating gagamitin kung meron tayong mga support materials. Halimbawa, meron tayong video documentary downloaded from the internet. Kung ang topic natin ay about inflation rates, we can incorporate the statistics na meron sa kasalukuyan. Kung napapansin ninyo, I have been mentioning some parts of lesson plan as specific examples sa strategies at methods. Bakit? Dahil ang lesson plan ay isang halimbawa ng curriculum plan. Dahil ito ay isang written document. Dagdag pa rito ay ang mga course syllabus, modules, books, instructional guides, course design, or a new science curriculum plan. Tandaan na sa planning, a good plan is half of the work done because a well-written plan ensures a successful implementation. Isipin nyo na lang na kapag wala kang plano at gumawa ka ng project, anong magiging end product ng project mo? 'Di ba? Pangit, wala, half-baked. So what comes after planning? Implementing comes after planning. Ano ang ating i-implement? We should implement the written plan because a written plan should be put into action. It should not remain written. Paano kung mayroon nga tayong plano, hindi naman natin i-implement? Para saan pa yung plano? Ibig sabihin, kung puro plano at walang implementation, useless lamang yung ginawa nating plano. Then who should implement the curriculum? The teacher. The teacher can implement the curriculum because a teacher can be a curriculum implementer. Mas ideal sana na kung sino ang sumulat o nagplano ng curriculum, siya rin ang mag-implement ng curriculum dahil alam niya ang pasikot-sikot at kung paano ipuput into action yung kanyang sinulat. The success of the implementation lies in the hand of the teacher. His skills and ability to guide and impart learning is vital for the success of the teaching learning process. With well-written curriculum plan and resource materials, instructional materials, equipments, and enough time, the teacher can fully achieve the intended outcomes, and that's what matters in curriculum implementation. Now that we are done with planning and implementing, what happens next? Evaluation happens next after implementation. Through this, we can determine if the curriculum was implemented successfully and if the desired learning outcomes are achieved. The past discussion enabled us to understand that curriculum development is a process and a tool, and the results of evaluation will be the basis to improve the curriculum. Curriculum evaluation follow evaluation models which can be used for programs and projects. Such include Bradley's Effectiveness Model, Tyler Objectives Centered Model, Daniel Staffelbeam's CIPP, Stake Responsive Model, and the Scriven Consumer-Oriented Evaluation. However, when curriculum evaluation is used as an assessment of learning, more attention is given to the levels of assessment for the levels of learning outcomes as defined by the Department of Education. The description of proficiency for the learner is described by the qualified values of the weighted test scores on an interval scale. Take for example in a formative assessment. It is rank according to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. When a student get 5, that means that he is competent, and 3 means that he is capable, and when he get 1, he is beginning. That means that she or he has a little or no understanding of what you have discussed on the topic. Well, taking it into a bigger context, in summative assessment that is composed of written work, performance tasks, and quarterly assessment, we are given grades that determines if we are beginning, developing, approaching proficiency, proficient, and advanced. And we can see it on our transcript of grades now that we have outlined how the planning, implementing, and evaluation is connected with each other. Let us remember that what has been planned should be implemented, and what has been implemented should be evaluated. The pie or the cyclical process of the three process of development is very easy to follow and understand. As curricularists, these are guiding principles to clarify our ideas or understanding that one cannot assess what was not taught, nor implement what was not planned. Remember, plan, then implement, then evaluate, and then the next cycle begins. In general, I can say that planning, implementing, and evaluating are interconnected processes because we implement what we plan and we assess what we implement. Through this, the plan was put into action through implementation, and the implementation was assessed through evaluation. And we can say that planning and implementing are less useful unless there is evaluation. Thus, evaluation determines modification and changes for the new plan to be written on the next phase of the curriculum. And that's how the cyclical process works. As for the take action part, the activity is entitled A Day in the Life of a Teacher in the Classroom, wherein I was instructed to look for a teacher whom I know personally, and I choose Mr. Lasarte as the recipient of my interview.
According to Mr. Lasarte, the teaching plans that he do every day are preparing lesson plan, using appropriate instructional technique or strategy to deliver the lesson, and preparing sheet works, engagement activities, and projects where they can put their learnings into practice. When it comes to implementation, he implements these plans by using the lesson plan as his guide on how should the flow of the class go. Use the specific appropriate technique that he choose in delivering his lesson. After the discussion, he let the students be engaged in various activities, sheet works, and projects where they can be able to practice and apply their learning for today's lesson. Through formative assessment, by the end of the lesson, he can be able to determine whether the plan and the implementation of his instructional practice is effective and successful. Now that the teaching and learning process shifted to modular learning during this pandemic, he assessed his student learning through summative assessment involving written work, quarterly assessment, and performance tasks that he implemented through videos that he instructed his students to do.
As for the self-check, match the concept with the pie. You're just gonna match the concept with the specific process of curriculum development and write the answer on the parentheses. On self-reflect, you are going to reflect on the information given by the teacher whom I had interviewed and answer the questions. Is the teacher life a series of planning, implementing, and evaluating? Will this improve teaching? Why? So that ends my presentation. Thank you for your time watching this video, and I hope you have learned something from me. This is Jennica Rose Rey Montiel. Thank you and have a great day ahead.